So I tried using my Canon G7X to make this video, and I'm using a ring light now because the lighting is just awful. It's a really gloomy day. I still don't have my setup figured out because I love to have my photography desk behind me, but then the window is right here, which is not ideal lighting. I don't really want to move my photography desk because I have to move a lot of stuff around. So at the moment, that's where we're at. But I wanted to talk to you guys about something I'm excited about. I have an idea for a project I want to do to kind of showcase what I think is lacking. So you guys know that I am an Olympus photography user. I've had Olympus gear for a long time. This is my EM5 Mark III. I also have an EM1 Mark II. I have my EM10 Mark II, and I have a Pen F. I've had other models as well, and I've sold them, but I think where Olympus is lacking, or OM System as they are now, is at showcasing other abilities of their cameras. If you look up their videos on here, 9 times out of 10, all you're gonna see is landscape photography, nature photography, macro photography, which is all great, and they're great at that. But I think they're really missing a key component that, like, people who want them for an average normal travel photography, not just for landscapes, but like for photos of like with their family, like in the city, all those kind of things. I think they're really missing a key audience there. When I go to look for those videos, because I have a hard time deciding what cameras to take every trip I take, I go through this every time. I'm always looking at what are other people taking, what's worked best for them. Most of these videos, when you Google like travel cameras, travel photography, are recommending Sony, Canon, some Nikon, and Fuji. There's none recommending Olympus. And that bothers me because I do think they would be great for that with how compact they are, and they take phenomenal photos. I just think that's an untapped area that they have not really done anything with. And I applied to be one of their like creators and didn't get picked because, again, everyone they pick does all the same stuff. They all do nature, they all do landscapes, just in different parts of the world. And like, that's great, but if that's all your camera brand is known for, you're not getting that wider audience of people like you could right now. And I think they have some really great like vintage style looking cameras, which is very much in style right now. So my thought is that I'm going to, now when I travel, I debate because now I will probably always take my Fuji X100V because this takes phenomenal photos and it's just super fun. But there are times where I want more of a portrait-y type photo, especially like of my husband and I or things like that. And I feel like I would be better if I had like, I really want to take my Canon. I have a Canon R6. I also have a 5D4, but I'm noticing how slow that is now and I really don't have much lenses for it anymore. I love my R6, but it is my business camera. It is my only main photography business, like for my wedding business camera, because my 5D4 is the backup right now. Until the time when I can buy a second R mount, I don't really feel as comfortable taking my R camera, my R6, on travels. Because also, I love how it looks with an 85mm point of view. Now, I did just today place an order for the refurbished 85 f2 because it is much smaller and more travel friendly than this giant beast that I have that I love. But we took this when we went to Gatlinburg last month and I was miserable. Like, the photos looked great, but I was miserable carrying this because I couldn't carry any other camera gear or lenses those days. And I would have had to carry like a giant camera backpack instead of just my purse with my camera gear in it. And I would much rather do that on trips. So I really don't want to take this with me. So now with my R6 with the 35 on it, this is what it looks like. I don't even know if I would take a 35 because honestly, my Fuji is a 35. I do have the teleconversion lens for my Fuji and it has the digital teleconverter, but I still prefer that like Canon look sometimes, or the more portrait look. And I don't know that I would use the 35 because that's not my favorite like field of view. The 50 here is even smaller than the 35. So I could take these and that would be a fairly small setup, but then I'm missing that 85, which I love for those super dreamy portraits, which is why I got the F2. But my other thought is my Olympus gear, because again, I don't want to take my one like main camera body with me for my business on trips when something could happen to it. And I don't know when I will be able to get a second one. So my other thought is I have all this Olympus gear and I would love to showcase what it can do. So this is with the 45mm f1.2 Pro lens, which is weather sealed, so that's a 90mm equivalent. Now, if I were to put this little pancake on it, so this is the Lumix, so it's Panasonic's 20mm, that's about a 40mm equivalent point of view. Again, not my like most used point of view, although that's closer to a 50, which I do love 50 and 85 more. But if I were to put that on my camera here, this is how small it becomes. So, and if you compare it to my Fuji X100V, like, they're pretty similar in size and everything. Honestly, about the same weight. And these are about the same equivalent point of views. So I do love that. This has a like articulating screen. I don't remember if this body is weather sealed or not. I would have to look that up. I have the EM1 Mark II, which is weather sealed for sure, but it's a little bit bulkier and bigger. So it'd be kind of similar to taking like, it was almost more the size of the Canon RP. So I would prefer to take this just for the looks and for the size. But if I took this, so this would be a 40mm lens, then I took this would be a, I don't have like a 50. This would be like a 90mm equivalent. And then I would take my 75, which is a 150 equivalent. And if I took all three of these, like, that's my kit. Like, it fits in my hand. So that's a fairly easy compact travel setup right there. I also have the 12 to 40 zoom pro lens, and it's fun, it's great, but like my mind is like, I don't really need that. Now, if I had like the 40 to 150 or something, I think if I had that and that was like an 80 to 300 range, that I would absolutely take on a trip and I'd probably be fine. But that's like not what I want to spend my money on right at the moment, since that's not for my professional gear. I would love to have that lens and give it a try, because I think it would be awesome for like travel portraits and stuff, but it's about the same size as this one right now. So, but that's still a pretty small setup. I do have a smaller 45. I have the Panasonic one that's like half this size, and it's a 1.8 instead of 1.2, but I just love how dreamy this looks, and it's weather sealed. So, but that's kind of my thought. And so my thought is that I want to do a video, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do this because I don't have anybody to model for me right at the moment, because my sister usually does that and she's just really busy, and she also usually helps me make videos. So I have my husband obviously, but I'm planning to do a video and I'm just gonna use us. So whether it's using my tripod to take our photos and just have my camera or my phone like on another tripod recording what we're doing, versus him just taking photos of me, one of the two. And then I'm gonna like do a comparison probably on Instagram, and then obviously it'll be in this video too whenever I get that uploaded, which will be kind of a comparison of, can you tell which one is micro four thirds versus full frame? Because I'm going to compare this, like, so if I had this, which is a 40mm, with like say my Canon with the 35, or I have like, I'll have the other 85 and I would compare it to like this one, which is the 45, so that's like a 90mm, so 85 versus 90, they're just slightly different. But that's kind of my thought, and just kind of get an idea of, do they look that different that I would really notice in travel photos because of how much easier it would be to carry this with me. Trust me, if I had just like an extra, if I hadn't sold my RP, I probably would take that on trips. It wasn't as reliable, but for like vacations, it would be fine. I needed to sell it to buy the R6, so at the moment that's not an option. And like, I will take my Canon G7X on trips, but I'm going to take that more for video than like for photos. Like, that's just more for us to record our trip as a video. So obviously, like I said, I will take my Fuji with me always. That thing is always going to be with me. But like I said, I also want like that portrait style kind of photo. And that's where I'm trying to decide, like, is Olympus good enough for that? Or do I need to take a Canon with me? Because I know I'm just picky about how my photos look. I know plenty of people will be totally happy with what they get out of any camera on a trip. But being a photographer, I'm a little pickier about what comes back with me. But I did take my entire 2019 London trip, which there are some videos further back on that. And there's a lot of photos that I have from it that maybe I'll post a video like on Instagram or something, or more with that. But I took all of those on this, which is this is the Olympus EM10 Mark II, and they are on the Mark IV right now, which I've heard is very good. But this is the Mark II, and this is a kit lens, which I did use for most of the photos. And this kit lens, let's see if it'll close up there. Kit lens on here is a 14 to 42. Now these cameras together, very, very similar in size. The EM5 Mark III is just more of a beast with processing and faster taking photos. That's why I like it better. I'm pretty sure it's weather sealed. I need to look that up. But yeah, I used this for that entire trip, and I love all the photos I got. Like, I also took them all in JPEG, and I did still edit them. So if I had gone back and redone it, I probably would have done them all in RAW, just so that I would have all of those photos to like fully edit. And I think I would have been even happier. And that's what I've been trying to focus on with, especially with Olympus, for many, many years. I only ever used JPEG because they were just like little snapshots. They weren't my professional photos. And I didn't really understand why I needed to take them in RAW because I didn't have all the space and storage. Now I understand that. And now I always take my Olympus photos with the RAW setting. I do have it set on portrait right now just to give it kind of a little bit muted colors so that it kind of matches more what comes out of my Canon, because I shoot Canon on the faithful color profile. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with those. But I want to do some more comparisons and just like kind of give a really good like idea for people who want to use a smaller camera setup for travel. And, you know, I really want to prove to Olympus that they should sponsor creators who showcase more different aspects, because it's not just landscape photography and macro and nature, like people travel photography and portrait photography. I think you could definitely use these. So I want to showcase that because no one else is.